My daughter-in-law replaced my heart medication with sugar pills because she wanted me dead faster. She smiled at me every morning while she handed me the pills that could have killed me. She didn't know I had a camera in my bedroom. She didn't know I had been recording everything for 6 months. 3 weeks after I discovered the truth, I had her arrested at her own anniversary party. But before I tell you how I destroyed the woman who tried to murder me, hit that like button and subscribe if you believe family should protect each other, not poison each other. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The betrayal didn't start with the pills. It started with the smell of bacon frying in the kitchen of the house I built with my own hands 42 years ago. I woke up at 6 in the morning like I always did, my joints creaking as I swung my legs over the side of the bed. The bedroom was small now, a converted storage room on the first floor because my son said I couldn't handle the stairs anymore. I could handle the stairs just fine. But Monica, my daughter-in-law, said the master bedroom had better light for her home office. She worked from home 3 days a week doing something with social media that I never quite understood. What I understood was that she had taken my bedroom, my bathroom, and my place at the head of the table. I shuffled into the kitchen. The morning light came through the window above the sink. The same window where my wife Ruth used to stand and watch the Cardinals in the backyard. Ruth had been gone for 4 years now. Cancer took her slow and painful, and I held her hand until the very end. After she passed, my son Daniel moved in with Monica and their 2 kids. He said it was to help me. He said I shouldn't be alone in this big house. I believed him because I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that my boy, the kid I taught to throw a baseball and drive a stick shift, still loved his old man. Monica was standing at the stove, her back to me. She was wearing yoga pants and a silk robe that probably cost more than my first car. Her blonde hair was pulled up in a messy bun, and she was scrolling through her phone while the bacon sizzled. "Good morning," I said. She didn't turn around. "Morning, Frank. Your pills are on the table." I looked at the small plastic cup next to my orange juice. 3 pills. 1 for blood pressure, 1 for cholesterol, and 1 for my heart. I had been taking them for 8 years, ever since the mild heart attack that scared the hell out of everyone, including me. The doctors said I was lucky. They said if I took my medication and watched my diet, I could live another 20 years. I intended to. I picked up the pills and swallowed them with a gulp of juice. The orange juice tasted watered down. Monica had started buying the cheap stuff 6 months ago, right around the time she convinced Daniel to take over the household finances because I was getting confused. I wasn't confused. I had run a construction company for 35 years. I had managed payroll for 200 employees. I knew exactly how much money was in my accounts, and I knew it was disappearing faster than it should. "Is Daniel awake?" I asked. "He left early." Monica finally turned around. She had that look on her face, the one that said, I was already annoying her, and it wasn't even 7 in the morning. "He has a big presentation today. Very important clients." Daniel worked at a marketing firm downtown. He made good money, or at least he used to. I had noticed the bills piling up on his desk when I walked past his home office. Credit card statements with numbers that made my chest tight even without a heart condition. "I was hoping to talk to him about the property taxes," I said. "They're due next month, and I wanted to make sure everything is in order." Monica's eyes flickered. It was quick, just a flash of something cold, but I caught it. "Don't worry about that, Frank. Daniel handles all of that now. You just focus on resting and getting better." "Getting better from what?" I asked. "I'm not sick." She smiled. It was the smile she used at dinner parties, bright and fake as a plastic flower. "Of course you're not," she said. "I just meant you should relax. Enjoy your retirement. Let us take care of everything." She set a plate in front of me. 2 strips of bacon and a small pile of scrambled eggs. No toast, because carbs were bad for me. No butter because cholesterol. The portion was barely enough to feed a child. Across the table, I could see the pan on the stove. There was enough bacon left to feed an army, all for her and Daniel and the kids when they woke up. I ate in silence. I had learned that silence was easier. Every time I complained, Monica would give Daniel that look. The one that said, "Your father is being difficult again." And Daniel, My son, who used to defend me against the whole world, would just sigh and ask me to be patient. After breakfast, Monica collected my plate before I was finished. She always did that, snatching things away like I was too slow, too old, too much of a burden. "I'm going to the grocery store later," she announced. "Do you need anything?" "I'd like to come with you," I said. "I haven't been out of the house in a week." "That's not a good idea, Frank. Your doctor said you should avoid stress. Shopping isn't stressful." "It is for someone your age," she said, her voice dropping into that patronizing tone I had grown to hate. "All those people, the noise, the walking, you could have another episode." "I've never had an episode in a grocery store in my life. There's a first time for everything," she said. She picked up her phone and walked out of the kitchen, leaving me alone with my watered-down juice and my cold eggs. I sat there for a long moment. I looked at the kitchen I had remodeled myself 20 years ago, back when my hands were steady and my back was strong. I had laid every tile on that floor. I had installed every cabinet. This was my house. My name was on the deed. But somehow, in the 4 years since Ruth died, I had become a guest in my own home. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in months. I went for a walk. Not far, just around the block. Monica was out, and the kids were at school, and Daniel was at work. The house was empty, and I was tired of staring at the walls of my tiny room. The neighborhood had changed since Ruth and I first moved here in 1982. The trees were bigger now, the sidewalks more cracked. A few of the houses had been torn down and replaced with those modern boxes that looked like they were designed by a computer. But Mrs. Patterson still lived on the corner, and she waved at me from her porch. "Frank," she called out, "haven't seen you in ages. How are you holding up?" I walked over to her fence. Mrs. Patterson was 87 years old and sharper than most people half her age. Her husband had passed 10 years ago, but she still lived alone, still drove her own car, still tended her garden. "I'm all right," I said, "just taking a walk." She looked at me with those keen blue eyes. I laughed, but it came out hollow. "Monica has me on a special diet." "Special diet?" Mrs. Patterson snorted. "Is that what they call it?" "Frank, I've known you for 40 years. You used to be built like a linebacker. Now, you look like a scarecrow." I didn't know what to say. The truth was, I had lost 20 pounds in the last year. My clothes hung off me like I was wearing someone else's skin. The doctor said it was normal for men my age to lose muscle mass, but something in my gut told me it wasn't normal. Something told me it was wrong. "Frank," Mrs. Patterson said, lowering her voice, "if you ever need anything, you come to me. You hear me? Don't let that woman run you into the ground." I nodded. I thanked her. I walked home. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my narrow bed in my narrow room, staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet, except for the occasional creak of the old wood settling. Ruth used to say the house was talking to us, telling us its secrets. I missed her so much it felt like a physical weight on my chest. I got up around 2 in the morning. I was thirsty, and I wanted a glass of milk. Real milk, not the almond garbage Monica kept in the fridge. I knew Daniel still bought regular milk for his coffee. He hid it in the back behind the vegetables, because Monica was always lecturing him about dairy. I padded down the hallway in my slippers. The kitchen was dark, except for the glow of the microwave clock. I opened the fridge and reached for the milk. That's when I heard them. Monica and Daniel were in the living room. The door was cracked open, and their voices carried in the silence of the night. "We can't keep doing this," Daniel was saying. His voice sounded strained, exhausted. "I don't know how much longer I can juggle everything." "Then stop juggling," Monica said. Her voice was different in the dark. Harder. Colder. "There's an obvious solution, Danny. It's sitting right down the hall." My blood went cold. I pressed myself against the wall, listening. "I'm not having this conversation again," Daniel said. "Why not?" Monica's voice rose, then dropped back to a hiss. "He's 71 years old, Daniel. He's had one heart attack already. It's only a matter of time before he has another one. And when he does, this house is ours." The savings are ours. We can finally breathe. He's my father. He's a burden, Monica snapped. He eats our food. He takes up space. He's in the way constantly. Do you know how hard it is to work from home with him shuffling around all day? And the medical bills? Danny, the prescriptions. It's bleeding us dry. So what do you want me to do? Daniel asked. His voice cracked. Push him down the stairs? There was a pause. A long, terrible pause. I'm not saying that, Monica said finally. I'm just saying, maybe we stop being so careful. Maybe we stop monitoring every little thing. Maybe we let nature take its course. I didn't hear what Daniel said next. I couldn't hear anything over the roaring in my ears. I backed away from the door, my hands shaking so hard I nearly knocked over a chair. I made it back to my room and closed the door. I sat on the edge of my bed until dawn. I didn't sleep. I didn't move. I just sat there, replaying every word in my head, trying to convince myself I had misheard, trying to convince myself that my son's wife hadn't just suggested letting me die, but I hadn't misheard. And deep down, in that place where a father's heart knows the truth, even when his mind refuses to accept it, I knew this wasn't the first time they'd had that conversation. The next morning, I watched Monica more carefully. I watched the way she handed me my pills, the way her fingers lingered on the plastic cup. I watched the way she measured my portions, the way she always seemed to be in the room when I was eating. I had thought she was controlling, overbearing. Now I wondered if she was something much worse. I took the pills like always. But this time, after she left the kitchen, I went to the bathroom and spit them out. I looked at them in my palm. They looked normal. They looked like they always did, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. That afternoon, I called my doctor's office from my cell phone. The cell phone Daniel didn't know I still had, because he thought I was too confused to use technology. I asked to speak to Dr. Chen directly. I told the receptionist it was urgent. Mr. Wallace, Dr. Chen said when he came on the line. Is everything all right? I need you to look at my medication, I said. My voice was steadier than I expected. I need you to tell me exactly what my pills are supposed to look like. There was a pause. Is there a problem, Frank? I don't know yet, I said. But I'm going to find out. Dr. Chen described each pill in detail. The blood pressure medication was small, round, and white. The cholesterol pill was oval and yellow. And the heart medication, the one that kept me alive, was a tiny blue tablet with a number stamped on one side. I went back to my room. I locked the door. I opened the drawer where Monica kept my weekly pill organizer, the one she filled every Sunday night with such careful precision. I picked up Tuesday's heart pill and looked at it closely. It was white, completely white. No numbers, no markings, just a plain white tablet that looked nothing like what Dr. Chen had described. My heart started racing, which was ironic considering I was holding the pill that was supposed to regulate it. I opened Wednesday's compartment. Same thing. Thursday, Friday, all of them. For the past 6 months, my daughter-in-law had been giving me sugar pills instead of heart medication. For 6 months, she had been slowly, methodically trying to kill me. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I knew that if I accused her without proof, she would deny everything. She would turn Daniel against me completely. She would say I was senile, paranoid, losing my mind. She might even have me committed somewhere, locked away in a facility where no one would listen to an old man's accusations. No. I needed evidence. I needed proof that would hold up in court. I called my old friend Marcus that night. Marcus had been my attorney for 30 years. He had handled everything from construction contracts to Ruth's estate. He was retired now, living in a condo in Phoenix, but he still had connections. Frank, he said when he heard my voice. It's been too long. How are the grandkids? I'm not calling about the grandkids, Marcus. I'm calling because I think someone is trying to kill me. The line went silent. Then Marcus said the words I needed to hear. Tell me everything. I did. I told him about the conversation I overheard, about the pills, about the slow deterioration of my health that I had attributed to age but now suspected was something far more sinister. I told him about the finances, about the control. Monica had taken over every aspect of my life. I told him I was scared. Marcus listened without interrupting. When I finished, he let out a long breath. Frank, this is serious. If what you're saying is true, we're talking about attempted murder. We need to do this right. What do I do? First, we need documentation. Every conversation, every pill, every interaction. I want you to get a camera. A small one that they won't notice. I want you to record everything. I don't know how to do that, I said, feeling suddenly old and helpless. I'll send you a package, Marcus said. My grandson set me up with one of those nanny cam things last year when I was worried about my housekeeper. It looks like a regular alarm clock. You just plug it in and it records automatically. I'll overnight it to your neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. You trust her? With my life. Good. Pick it up tomorrow. And Frank, don't take any more of those pills. Take the real ones. I'll have my contact at the pharmacy. Send you a backup supply. We'll get it to Mrs. Patterson too. Play along with Monica, but take the real medication. What if Daniel is involved? Marcus paused. Then, we deal with him too. But I've known your boy since he was in diapers, Frank. I don't think he has it in him to hurt you. I think he's weak, and I think he married a snake, but I don't think he's a murderer. I hoped Marcus was right. I prayed he was right. Because if my own son was trying to kill me, I didn't know how I would survive that truth. The camera arrived 2 days later. Mrs. Patterson handed it to me over the fence like we were exchanging contraband. She didn't ask questions. Mrs. Patterson 6, she just squeezed my hand and told me to be careful. I set up the camera in my bedroom, pointed at the door and the nightstand where Monica left my pills every evening. I tested it 3 times to make sure it was working. The footage was clear. The audio was crisp. Every time Monica walked into my room, every word she said, every pill she placed in that little plastic cup was being recorded and uploaded to a secure cloud server that Marcus had set up. For 2 weeks, I gathered evidence. I recorded Monica entering my room each morning with the pills. I recorded her patronizing comments about my confusion, my forgetfulness, my declining health. I recorded her on the phone with someone, laughing about how she couldn't wait to redecorate the master bathroom once I was gone. But the most damning evidence came on a Thursday night. Monica came into my room while I was pretending to sleep. She stood over my bed for a long moment. I kept my breathing slow and steady. My eyes closed. I could feel her staring at me. Still hanging on, she whispered. You stubborn old bastard. I heard her pick up the pill bottle on my nightstand. The bottle I had deliberately left there. The one with Dr. Chen's label that clearly showed what my real heart medication looked like. You're running out of time, Frank, she said softly. And so am I. She put the bottle back and left. The camera caught everything. Her face in the dim light. Her words. The hatred in her eyes. I had enough. Marcus agreed. We contacted the district attorney's office, and I spent an entire afternoon giving a statement to a detective named Rodriguez, who looked at the footage with a grim expression and told me I was lucky to be alive. The pills Monica had been giving me were analyzed at a lab. They were sugar tablets, completely inert. If I had continued taking them instead of my real medication, Dr. Chen said I would have had another heart attack within 3 to 6 months. And this one, he said, probably would have killed me. But we didn't move right away. The DA wanted to build an airtight case. They wanted to search Monica's computer, her phone records, her purchase history. They found a search history that made my blood run cold. Undetectable ways to cause heart failure. How long can someone survive without heart medication? Inheriting property when spouse is alive. She had been planning this for over a year. Long before she switched my pills, she had been researching how to kill me. The arrest was scheduled for Saturday evening. Daniel and Monica were hosting their 5th anniversary party at my house. A catered affair with 50 guests and a live band in the backyard. Monica had been planning it for months. She had spent thousands of dollars, money they didn't have. Money that was supposed to come from my estate after I was dead. I watched her that morning as she directed the caterers and arranged the flowers. She was wearing a white dress that probably cost more than my truck. She looked happy, radiant, like a woman who had everything she ever wanted. She didn't know that the guests she had invited included 3 plainclothes detectives. She didn't know that the servers setting up the bar were undercover officers. She didn't know that her whole world was about to collapse. Daniel found me on the back porch around 6 o'clock. The party was in full swing. Guests were laughing, drinking champagne, admiring the decorations. I was sitting in a lawn chair, watching the sun set over the trees I had planted when Daniel was a baby. "Hey, Dad," he said, sitting down next to me. "You doing okay?" I looked at my son. He was 43 years old, and he looked tired. More tired than a man his age should look. There were lines around his eyes and gray in his hair that hadn't been there a year ago. "I need to tell you something, Daniel," I said. He tensed. "Dad, if this is about Monica again, I really don't want to." "It's not about Monica," I lied. "It's about me. And about what I want you to know. No matter what happens." He looked confused, worried. "I love you," I said. "I've always loved you. Since the day you were born, you've been the best thing in my life. And nothing, do you hear me? Nothing is going to change that." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He didn't understand why I was saying this, not yet. But he would. In about 15 minutes, he would understand everything. "Dad," he started. Detective Rodriguez appeared on the porch. He was wearing a suit, which I suppose was his version of party attire. He looked at me and gave a small nod. "It was time." "Daniel," I said, standing up. "I need you to come with me." I led him through the crowd, past the bar, past the band, past the white tent where Monica was posing for photos with her friends. She saw us approaching, and her smile faltered for just a moment. She could sense something was wrong. "Frank," she said, that artificial sweetness dripping from her voice. "You should be resting. All this excitement isn't good for your heart." "My heart is fine," I said. "Better than it's been in months, actually." Detective Rodriguez stepped forward. "Monica Caldwell Wallace?" Monica's face went pale. "Yes? You're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and elder abuse. You have the right to remain silent." "What?" Monica's shriek cut through the party noise like a knife. "This is insane." "Daniel." Daniel was frozen. He was looking at me, at the detective, at his wife being handcuffed in front of 50 guests. "Dad?" His voice was barely a whisper. "What's happening?" I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I handed it to him. "Watch the video," I said. "All of them. Then you'll understand." The next hour was chaos. The guests were cleared out. The caterers packed up and left. Monica was taken away in a police car, screaming obscenities and swearing she was innocent. Daniel sat in the living room, watching video after video on my phone, tears streaming down his face. When he finally looked up, he was a broken man. "I didn't know," he said. "Dad, I swear to God, I didn't know." I sat down next to him. I believed him, looking at his face, seeing the horror and the guilt and the devastation. I knew my son had been manipulated, just like I had. "She told me you were getting worse," Daniel choked out. "She said the doctor was concerned about your memory. She said, we needed to take over your finances, to protect you." I believed her because I wanted to believe her, because it was easier than admitting my wife was a monster. I put my hand on his shoulder. "But it was," he said. "I let her into our lives. I let her take over. I told myself she was just being protective." He broke down completely. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." We sat there for a long time. Father and son, 2 men who had been torn apart by a woman who saw us both as nothing more than obstacles to her greed. Eventually, Daniel looked up. "What happens now?" "Now," I said, "we take back our lives." The trial was swift. Monica's defense attorney tried to argue that she was under stress, that she never intended to actually harm me, that the pills were a misunderstanding. The jury didn't buy it. They saw the search history, the recordings, the testimony from Dr. Chen about what would have happened if I had continued taking sugar pills. They deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Monica was sentenced to 15 years in prison. She'll be eligible for parole in 8, but somehow I doubt she'll make it. Word gets around in prison. Inmates don't take kindly to people who try to kill old men. Daniel filed for divorce 3 days after the conviction. He got full custody of the kids, which wasn't hard considering their mother was going to prison for attempted murder. He sold his house and moved back in with me, into the room he grew up in. He said he wanted to make things right. He said he wanted to take care of me the way he should have all along. I let him. Not because I needed taking care of, but because he needed to do it. He needed to feel like he was making up for 3 years of blindness. But I also made some changes. I hired a home health aide, a wonderful woman named Eleanor, who comes 3 times a week to help around the house. Not because I can't manage, but because I like the company. She reminds me of Ruth, always humming while she works, always sneaking me extra cookies when Daniel isn't looking. I reconnected with Mrs. Patterson. We have dinner together every Sunday now. She makes her famous pot roast, and I bring wine from the case I started collecting. We talk about the old days, about our spouses who passed too soon, about the grandchildren who grow up too fast. I started going for walks again. Not just around the block, but through the whole neighborhood. Sometimes all the way to the park, where Ruth and I used to take Daniel when he was little. The exercise has been good for me. Dr. Chen says my heart is stronger than it's been in years, and I started living again. Last month, I booked a cruise to Alaska. Ruth and I had always talked about seeing the glaciers, but we never got around to it. We kept saying, someday, next year, when we have more time. Now I understand that time is the one thing we never have enough of. Daniel worried about me going alone. He offered to come with me, but I told him no. This was something I needed to do by myself. This was my way of proving to myself and to Ruth that I wasn't done yet. I stood on the deck of that ship and watched the ice mountains rise out of the sea. They were blue and white and ancient beyond comprehension. They had been there for thousands of years, long before human beings existed, and they would be there long after we were gone. Somehow, that thought didn't make me sad. It made me feel peaceful. I'm 72 years old. I've built houses and buried a wife and raised a son and survived a woman who tried to kill me with sugar pills. I have arthritis in my knees and a tricky heart and more regrets than I can count, but I'm still here. I'm still standing, and I'm not done yet. If you're watching this and you're in a situation like mine, if someone is making you feel small or confused or like a burden, please know that you're not alone. Please know that there are people who will believe you, people who will help you. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to accept abuse because it comes from family. Family is supposed to protect each other. Family is supposed to lift each other up. And when it doesn't, when someone uses your love and trust as a weapon against you, you have every right to fight back. Hit that subscribe button if you believe that elders deserve respect. Leave a comment telling me where you're watching from, and tell me your story, because I know I'm not the only one. I know there are thousands of people out there being mistreated by the ones who are supposed to love them. You matter. Your life matters. And it's never too late to take it back.